When a man comes to you, text, phone call, message that appears innocuous, something in the mind occurs. There's a flash of interest, a burst of feeling, that quiet thrill of someone having seen you. It's normal, it's natural, but here's what you have to keep in mind. Attention is not intention. Just because someone sees you doesn't mean that they think you're worthwhile, and just because someone calls you doesn't mean they're willing to show up. The minute you begin to blur the difference between attention and affection, you lose the power that makes you magnetic, your standards. I see this pattern over and over. People begin to settle what they stand for because they're afraid of losing the moment. They begin to respond quicker, accepting things they would not otherwise agree to, and moving their boundaries to just maintain the relationship. What occurs is subtle, however. It's not that they lose the other, it's that they begin to lose themselves. And when you lose yourself, you lose the power in all relationships, all conversations, all emotional transactions. Never drop your standards to meet someone halfway in the effort department. When you do that, you're sending a message to them, but more importantly, your own brain, that your worth is based on someone else's validation. And that's perilous because it puts your emotional well-being in someone else's control. The reality is your standards are not fences to keep people away. They are sieves to allow the correct ones in. Put it this way, when you receive a call, message, or need for your time, you can absolutely ask yourself, do they bring value to my life? Do they bring clarity, peace, or expansion? Or do they bring confusion, inconsistency, and distraction? Most individuals do not ask that question. They are engulfed in the sensation of being selected. But true power isn't in being picked. It's in picking. It's in picking who is going to get your energy, your time, your calm. When you lower your standards for attention, what you're really doing is trading long-term fulfillment for short-term excitement. And that trade always costs more than it's worth. The dopamine hit fades, the messages slow down, and suddenly you're left wondering why it doesn't feel the same anymore. It doesn't feel the same because it never was real connection. It was validation dressed as affection. You have to be in your truth. You have to remind yourself that you are not needy for connection. You are worthy of connection. There is a difference. Desperation pursues, worthiness draws. And when you approach life like a person who has something to offer, people sense it. You don't have to say it. You don't have to prove it. It's in your voice, your boundaries, your choices. Do not ever forget that how you react when someone reaches out to you determines how they will then treat you. If you arrive with clarity and calmness, you send the message of strength. If you react with nervousness or need to please, you send the message of uncertainty, and people treat you based on what you will let them do, not on what you deserve. So when a man contacts you, pause, breathe, don't rush to reply, don't rush to analyze, and don't rush to attach meaning to something that might just be casual. You don't have to play games, but you do have to play with awareness. Observe his consistency, his respect, his energy. See if his actions match his words. Because the truth is, consistency is the truest form of communication. You show people in life how to treat you by what you will accept. If you wish a man who respects you, first you need to demonstrate that you respect yourself. And that is where it starts in the first encounter, the point at which you determine that your standards are non-negotiable. So the next time some guy gets in touch with you, do keep this in mind. Your time is precious, your attention is sacred, and your peace is not negotiable. Set high standards, because the right guy won't be put off by them. He'll be motivated by them. When some guy makes contact and you get that spark, that immediate interest, that rapid heartbeat, it's so easy to get carried away on an emotional ride. We are human beings, we need connection. But let me tell you something, emotion without self-awareness becomes your worst enemy. Never ever let your emotions cloud your logic, because when you do, you lose sight. You lose your listening to your intuition. You begin to color red flags white simply because you wish the story could end another way. Emotion is powerful. Emotion provides life with depth and color. If you allow it to guide your choices prior to figuring out the situation, it can draw you into cycles that harm you. You begin rationalizing contradictory behavior, justifying disrespect, and inventing possibility where there isn't any. How many times have you heard someone explain, "I just feel something about him," and that emotion becomes the reasoning for them to dismiss what's under their nose, the conflicting signals, the delays, the uncertainty. But here's what Tony Robbins always says: emotion is energy in motion. It's not meant to control you, only move you. You need to master it and not be mastered by it. When a man reaches out to you, stop before you give it meaning. Don't let your heart run ahead of your mind. Breathe. Ask yourself, what does this behavior actually reveal to me? Not what I wish it did, but what it does. Is he reliable, respectful, and deliberate, or is he after attention for the moment only? Logic poses questions that emotion bypasses, and the more you get used to listening to logic, the better your intuition gets. I'm not telling you don't feel, you must feel. Feel the thrill, the intrigue, the potential. But let your rationality stand watch, because passion gets you open, rationality keeps you safe. If there's something about a person's behavior that doesn't add up with what they say, your rationality will catch it before your heart is ready to acknowledge it. When you let your emotions drive, you risk idealizing potential rather than seeing reality, and reality always prevails. Here's the thing: love, connection, attraction, they all take emotional courage. Courage doesn't equal blindness. You can be open-hearted and be intelligent. You can care passionately and still set boundaries. That's emotional intelligence. The most confident individuals don't stifle their feelings. They just don't allow those feelings to make their decisions for them. They feel everything but make wise choices. You must recall that the incorrect emotional investment can sap your energy, your confidence, your peace. Each time you disregard logic to pursue a feeling, you relinquish power. And that's not love. That's attachment. Genuine love does not ask you to quiet your mind. It's balanced. It's on purpose. It creates peace, not confusion. So if a guy calls you, don't assume. Don't confuse chemistry with compatibility. Chemistry is lightning fast, but compatibility is tested and tried with time. The one who suits you will not hurry you. It will give you confidence. It won't make you question your own worth. It will make you feel noticed without needing validation to pursue it. Emotional discipline is one of your greatest assets, because when your emotions are serving your logic rather than subbing for it, you begin to make decisions that lift you up, not suck the life out of you. You quit pursuing uncertainty and begin drawing clarity. The next time you get that rush of emotion when someone new expresses interest, let it linger, but don't let it control. Smile, breathe, and remember, emotion is powerful, but it has to be channeled. Don't let the feeling of excitement make you lose sight of your standards, your worth, or your peace. Because when you control your emotions, you cease to fall for potential and begin to select reality. And that's when you truly attract someone worthy of the real you. One of the most deadly traps folks fall into, particularly when someone new comes along and offers interest, is pursing validation. It's sneaky, it's stealthy, and it tends to masquerade as connection. But don't be mistaken, the moment you begin looking for approval over alignment, you lose power. You move from authentic to performative. And here's the catch: the very moment you attempt to prove yourself to someone, you've already forgotten. When a guy reaches out to you, there's usually that excitement. Does he like me? What was the intent behind that message? Should I respond immediately? Suddenly your mind is thinking about how to appear to be enough in his mind. But that thinking compromises your emotional control. You begin to edit yourself, attempting to be more interesting, more attractive, more agreeable. You begin to manage impressions rather than living in authenticity. And that's when connection becomes performance. Never pursue validation because it's a moving target. As soon as you have it, you'll want more of it. It isn't love that you're feeding, it's insecurity. And no external confirmation can ever fill an internal hole. True confidence isn't constructed by being picked, it's constructed by knowing you're worth something even when you're not. See, folks can feel it. Energy does not lie. When you are coming from a place of self-trust, you become magnetic, not because you're attempting to impress, but because you are rooted. You don't have anything to prove, anything to chase, anything to manipulate. That type of presence creates people leaning in, not because you're needy for attention, but because you exude certainty. And here's the paradox: the more you pursue validation, the more you miss out on it. Why? Because pursuing energy always feels needy. And neediness does not attract respect, it repels it. When you're grounded in self-worth, you naturally attract people who resonate at your frequency. You no longer accept crumbs of attention because you're already full from within. Crucial to recognize that validation is not connection. Validation is, I need you to tell me I'm enough. Connection is, I know I'm enough, and I wonder if we fit. One is rooted in fear, the other is based on strength. One takes energy away from you, the other gives you energy. Think about it this way: each time you look to someone else for validation, you're handing someone else the remote control for your emotions. If they like it, you feel okay. If they don't, you spiral. That's emotional slavery. When you validate yourself, when you state the value of you, you reclaim control. You begin living from the inside out rather than the outside in. The truth is, you don't have to perform in order to be loved. You don't have to overgive, over-explain, or overplease to be picked. The right person won't demand that you prove anything. They'll know your energy because it will feel real, unforced, genuine. The right connection will never lead you to doubt your worth. It will reflect it. So when a man reaches out to you, don't trap yourself by wondering if you're worthy enough for him. Instead, ask yourself, is he worthy enough for me? Does his vibe feel safe, consistent, inspiring? That one adjustment makes all the difference. It shifts you from scarcity to abundance, from chasing to choosing. Approval is nice in the moment, but it doesn't last. Self-worth is forever. And when you no longer need outside approval, you have something of incredible value, peace. You no longer react and instead respond. You no longer chase and instead attract. Don't pursue validation, create value. Don't pursue attention, cultivate intention. The right man won't require persuading, he'll sense your confidence. Because nothing is sexier than someone who knows precisely who they are and refuses to shrink for anyone. You said never, and I mean never, lose your purpose when someone new comes into your life. It's one of the most frequent errors we make when we begin feeling that spark, that sense of connection, that thrill of being desired. You find yourself texting a bit more, thinking less about your agenda, readjusting your day around someone who just appeared. Gradually, without even noticing, your attention is diverted. Your pace is altered. And one morning, you wake up and you realize you've lost touch with the things that used to make you feel alive. Here's the truthy: your purpose is your anchor. It's your essence. It's what provides you with direction when emotions seek to derail you. When you surrender your purpose to a person, you're giving them the power to determine your sense of self, worth, and identity. And the minute they move away or don't pay attention to you the way you've now constructed your life around, all of it falls apart. Not because they moved away, but because you moved away first. A relationship, or even the possibility of one, should never ask that you give up who you are. You're not here to revolve around someone else's life. You're here to construct your own. The right person will catch up with you in your lane, not pull you out of it. They'll contribute to your energy, not suck it out of you. They'll motivate you to become better, not pull you away from things that are important. But when you forget about your mission, your dreams, your goals, you start relying on them for motivation, for happiness, fulfillment, and that's too much weight for anyone to bear. Tony Robbins always states, where focus goes, energy flows. So ask yourself, where is your focus when someone calls you? Is it still on your purpose, your progress, your inner growth? Or have you begun living in reaction to the presence of someone else? You can't build a meaningful life if you're constantly working it into someone else's story. You have to remain rooted in your own. Humans are attracted to purpose, living people. There is no greater attraction than a human who has a clue why he or she gets out of bed each morning. When you're living on purpose, when your days are filled with intention, goals are crisp, and your energy is focused on growth, you attract like-minded people naturally who are purpose living as well. But when your mission becomes keeping someone interested, you lose your spark. You begin to live small, and small energy never draws big love. Your dreams, your calling, your aspirations, they're not on the table for negotiations. They're not things you can put on the shelf until someone figures out how they feel about you. They are the essence of who you are. A healthy relationship will never ask you to dull your light. It will celebrate it. It will encourage you to be more of yourself, not less. If someone respects you, they'll honor your time, your attention, your boundaries, because they'll realize your purpose is part of what makes you magnificent. So when a man reaches out to you, remain grounded. Don't cancel your plans. Don't reorganize your life. Don't begin waiting by the telephone, waiting to be selected. Continue to do what nourishes your spirit. Remain consistent in your development, your habits, your hobbies, because that consistency is strength, and it's what distinguishes fleeting attraction with enduring respect. When you live on purpose, you work from abundance. You no longer pursue connection because you feel empty. You give it because you overflow. You don't need someone to make you whole. You are whole. You're simply willing for someone who enhances your path. So keep this in mind. Never let love or attraction distract you from what makes you you. The right person won't compete with your mission. They'll root it on. They'll want you to succeed. They'll be motivated by your passion, because real connection doesn't take you off track. It emboldens you. Remain in your purpose, and you'll never need to pursue anyone. You'll merely draw those moving towards the same direction. Don't overinvest too soon. It's one of the hardest lessons to learn, especially when you meet someone who lights you up, who says all the right things, who seems to understand you in a way others haven't. You feel something real, or at least you think you do. So you start giving your time, your energy, your attention, maybe even your heart, before you really know what's being built. But here's the truth: investment prior to clarity always results in imbalance. You end up giving from hope rather than reality. When a guy calls you, it's easy to get caught up in the beat of the excitement. You wish to connect, to share, to see where it leads. That's lovely. That's what makes us human. But what's risky is when your emotional tempo exceeds the proof. You begin planning a future when the future is unclear. You begin presuming intention when all you've witnessed is interest. You begin offering commitment when none has been gained. The issue isn't generosity, it's early generosity. You can't invest deeply in someone whose consistency you haven't first taken the measure of. Relationships, like everything worth having, take time to show truth. The initial interactions are always the highlight reel: charm, attraction, connection. But consistency, that's the whole movie. That's what shows you who a person actually is when the thrill wears off. Tony Robbins offers the advice: trade your expectations for appreciation. But you can't appreciate what you don't yet comprehend. You require space to witness patterns, not guarantees. And that's where emotional discipline enters the picture. Don't be quick to brand something as love because it feels new or overwhelming. Time will always betray what emotion attempts to conceal. When you overinvest too soon, you accumulate emotional debt. You begin to expect returns, effort, commitment proportionate to what you've invested. And when those returns do not materialize, you feel betrayed, even injured. But the reality is that hurt is not only a result of what they did, but also what you invested before you should have. You constructed expectations on unproven ground. Consider your energy, your feelings, and your time as sacred money. You won't give away your life savings to a stranger. You'll wait, you'll get to know them, you'll observe. You'd ensure the investment is solid. Why should your heart not be the same? Your attention is worth something. Your love is worth something. Your kindness is worth something. They need to be earned through repeated action, not borrowed based on charm. This doesn't involve becoming cold, guarded, or suspicious. It involves being wise in your movements. You share proportionally according to what's proven, not promised. You share pieces of yourself slowly, not because you're fearful of opening up, but because you honor what lies within. You know that true connection requires time, and anything truly real will remain once time has tested it. So when a guy calls you, relish it. Be available, be generous, be yourself. Don't expose the whole version of yourself to a relationship that's still in preview mode. Allow people to earn deeper access through repetition and respect, because what you hurry into doesn't last, but what you construct deliberately, slowly, has the power to endure. You should have a connection that's mutual, not one way. You should have reciprocity, not ambiguity. And you won't have that until you stop giving everything to anyone who shows interest. Guard your peace, guard your time, guard your heart. Keep in mind, love isn't about how quickly something feels, it's about how powerful it becomes. The right person won't hurry you along, they'll keep up with you. They'll prove through action that they're putting in. Don't overinvest too quickly. Let time work its magic. Let people show you who they are. Because when you learn the power of patience, you'll never again mistake potential for partnership, and that's where true emotional freedom starts. Don't dismiss consistency. It's one of the most obvious indicators of who someone really is, one of the first things to be dismissed when emotions come into play. At first, it all seems thrilling. The messages arrive fast, the vibe is electric, the connection is vibrant. But the truth is, anybody can be incredible for a week. Anyone can be irresistible for a month. Consistency is what puts the real from the transient. When a guy reaches out to you, it's only natural to listen to what he has to say. We all do. We hear his words, we loop his flattery, we translate his tone. But true connection isn't formed in words, it's formed in patterns. Words are vows, follow through is evidence. You need to see how he shows up, not merely how he speaks up. Does he show up? Is his effort equal to his excitement? Is his energy consistent, or does it dwindle when things get hard? These are the questions that tell the truth. The issue is that when we want something to work, we begin to fill in the gaps with hope. We excuse inconsistency. We begin saying things like, he's just busy, or he's not great at texting, or he'll come around. But here's the truth: consistency doesn't need reminders. When you're valued, people make time. When they respect you, they speak clearly. when they care. You don't have to seek clarity. It happens by itself. Tony Robbins consistently states, people's lives are a direct reflection of their standards. The same holds true for relationships. If you settle for inconsistency, you bring uncertainty in. If you insist on consistency from others and from yourself, you build stability. You can't construct a strong foundation on sand that moves. And inconsistency, however tantalizing it may seem at first, is always moving sand. Think of rhythm. Every amazing song has it. It provides you with something to move with, something you can rely on. When a person's rhythm is always shifting, when they're there one day and then far away the next, you can't move to it. You get left out of sync, worried, unsure of what went wrong. The issue is not your rhythm. It's that you're moving with somebody who hasn't established their own. Now, here's the key thing. Don't just expect consistency out of other people. Create it in yourself. Be consistent in your standards, your energy, your boundaries. When you have clarity on what kind of energy you radiate, you'll sense immediately when someone else's doesn't resonate. You won't accept half-hearted because you have a sense of how full-hearted feels. Consistency begins from the inside out, and whatever you create within becomes the screen for what you permit on the outside. When a man's commitment falters, don't pursue it. Watch it, because inconsistency does not always equate to disinterest. Sometimes it means distraction, confusion, or internal uncertainty within him. But it is not your responsibility to resolve that. You can provide understanding, but not at the expense of your peace. Your responsibility is to pay attention to patterns and determine what resonates with your peace, your values, your emotional safety. The reality is, genuine relationships aren't full of guessing games. If a person needs you in their life, they let you know. They won't leave you wondering where you stand. You'll feel at ease, not nervous. You'll feel safe, not suspicious. You'll feel noticed, not put on the side. So don't dismiss consistency. It's not dull. It's reliable. It's not predictable. It's secure. Emotional safety is the basis of profound connection. Anyone can send you butterflies. It takes few to send you roots. Go for roots. Because butterflies disappear, consistency endures. If you desire a love that will expand, not exhaust, observe the patterns. They'll always speak the truth that words often conceal. And when you respect consistency, you're sending a message to the universe that you're no longer open to half effort, half truth, or half love. You're only open to something real. Don't attempt to fix or alter him. That's one of the largest emotional traps that individuals get caught up in, particularly those with large hearts and caretaking energy. When you encounter a man who looks wounded, lost, or just needs a little guidance, your first reaction is likely to assist. You envision his potential, you feel his hurt, and some part of you feels that if you love him enough, nurture him enough, or teach him what's possible, he'll become that potential. But here's the truth. You can't build someone into the person you need them to be. Love can motivate change, but it can't substitute for personal responsibility. When a man reaches out to you, you might immediately get the feeling something's not right. He's flighty, emotionally unavailable, or still trying to define himself. And rather than stepping back, your compassion takes over. You begin thinking, I can help him grow. He simply needs someone to have faith in him. But that way of thinking, while generous-hearted, can very quickly turn into a burden. Because the minute you begin trying to fix someone, you are no longer a partner but a project manager. You stop connecting and begin rescuing. Tony Robbins states, change happens when pain meets purpose. That is, people change when they choose to, not when you choose for them. You can't force someone to change who isn't ready. You can influence, inspire, and guide. You cannot bear another person's emotional burden and remain tall in your own truth. Most relationships don't break down due to a lack of love, due to imbalance. One person doing all the emotional heavy lifting and the other resisting change. You become drained, exhausted, and bewildered because your energy has gone into fixing rather than connecting. But this is the thing, fixing someone usually stems from a secret assumption that you can earn love by working at it. That if you give enough, demonstrate enough, or heal enough, they'll eventually become what you require. But that thinking will only leave you mired in cycles of frustration, because love rooted in potential is love that resides in the future, not in the present. You deserve someone who meets you where you're at, not someone you have to pull up to your level. You deserve partnership, not parenthood, and that is allowing individuals to be responsible for themselves. If a man is shattered, allow him to reform himself. If he's lost, allow him to discover his way. You may encourage him, but you may not tread his journey for him. Real growth takes ownership, And no degree of love can substitute for that. When you let go of trying to fix, something magical occurs. You move your energy from control to clarity. You get to know who someone is, not who you wish they were. You start making decisions based on reality rather than possibilities. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you smart. It means you realize that love without boundaries isn't love, it's self-abandonment. That's the paradox. When you let up on trying to fix people, you tend to inspire the most transformation because freedom breeds growth. When you allow a person to feel accepted, not controlled, they will change more easily. But that transformation must be born of their own need, not your coercion. Your role is not to reauthor someone's life. It is to author your own and invite a person who is already doing the same. When a man calls you, listen, watch, and remain centered, don't fall into the fixer role. Allow him to demonstrate his ability for self-awareness, responsibility, and development, because the right man won't be in need of saving. He will already be saving himself. He'll approach you not as a half-finished project, but as a complete person with the capacity to create something authentic. Take note, love is not work. You are not a healer, a therapist, or a shelter for shattered potential. You are a partner, a reflection of power, not a repairman for somebody else's injuries. The moment you give up on fixing others, you are free to draw into your life someone who doesn't require fixing, only loving, only understanding, only you. Don't be afraid to walk away. It seems easy, almost trite, but it's one of the most difficult, most daunting things you'll ever do when your heart is on the line. When you love someone, when you've put in time, emotion, and hope, thought of letting go as failure, you make yourself wait a little longer, give one more chance, believe that maybe they will turn around. But deep down, you already know the truth. You feel it, you sense it, and the truth is walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. When a man reaches out to you, there's always possibility, the possibility of connection, of growth, of something special. But not all possibility must be investigated. Oftentimes, the strongest choice you can make is to say, this does not benefit me, and leave with your head held high, because leaving doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough about yourself to cease remaining somewhere you're not being appreciated. Tony Robbins always says, change happens the moment you decide. It holds true here. The instant you decide that your peace is non-negotiable, everything shifts. You cease begging for clarity, pursuing mixed signals, or embracing confusion as chemistry. You cease attempting to prove yourself to someone because you understand at last, if a person cannot see your worth, it is not your responsibility to educate them. It is your responsibility to depart. So many people remain trapped in near relationships, part commitments, or emotional cycles because they're afraid to lose. They believe if they leave, they'll lose something. What if it's gain yourself back? What if parting with the wrong thing opens up room for the correct one? That's what most folks miss. Endings aren't punishment, they're redirection. The universe does have a knack of eliminating what is not in line so that it may bring in what is. But if you continue to hold on to what wounds, there is no space for what heals. When you walk away from anything that does not serve you, you're not merely saying no to them, you're saying yes to your expectations, your evolution, your emotional liberation. You're taking back your time, your energy, and your sense of self, and that's not loss, that's freedom. This is what's so powerful. The power of walking away can flip the whole dynamic on its head. When you draw back your power, when you cease to beg, to chase, to explain, others suddenly notice what they've been taking for granted. But by then, it's not about winning them back. It's about understanding that you never needed them in order to be whole. You needed them to learn what you will no longer accept. And let's be real, quitting hurts. It's not nice to walk away from potential. It's not nice to realize that something you so desperately wanted may never be what you dreamed it could be. But remember, term pain is always preferable to long-term harm. Pain is going to happen. Suffering is a choice. The longer you remain where your soul is diminished, the more you condition yourself that you don't deserve any better, when in reality you do. So when you get a call from a man and the vibe isn't clear, it's all over the place, or draining emotionally, don't be afraid to disengage. Don't be afraid to say, this isn't for me. It is not bitterness, it's boundaries. You can disengage with dignity, with love, and with respect for yourself intact. The right person won't make you doubt your worth. They won't make you run after clarity. They won't make you feel worried, lost, or unheard. Create peace, not destruction. Love shouldn't exhaust you. It should lift you up. So keep this in mind. Walking away isn't giving up. It's leveling up. It's believing that your future is worth more than your comfort zone. It's knowing that regardless of how good someone looks, sounds, or feels, if it costs your peace, it's too pricey. You deserve a love that tastes like freedom, not survival. And sometimes the only way to find it is to walk away. Remember self-respect in the discussion. Because every time you reply to someone, every call, every text, every exchange, you're not just talking to them, you're instructing them how to treat you. Self-respect is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's the quiet confidence that declares, I know my worth and I don't need to lower my standards to be understood. When a man reaches out to you, it can be thrilling. You feel noticed, desired, seen. But this is where most people screw up. They get chosen and they mix it up with being valued. You find yourself overextending yourself, responding immediately, always on, adjusting your boundaries just to maintain that connection. And by doing so, you implicitly communicate that your time and energy are up for negotiation. But they're not. Your self-respect is the unwritten line that sets every healthy relationship you'll ever be in. Tony Robbins always states, the quality of your life is the quality of your standards, and your standards appear in how you speak. You can tell somebody 1,000 times what you want, but what you really need to worry about is what you tolerate. When somebody's not being consistent and you continue to accept it, you're educating them that it's all right. Someone doesn't respect your time and you still show up. You're demonstrating that you don't even respect it yourself. Boundaries are not necessarily spoken loudly. They must be lived clearly. Self-respect doesn't involve playing hard to get coldness or acting like you don't care. It involves being grounded in enough of yourself to know that your value isn't negotiable. You can be warm and empathetic yet firm. You can be caring yet clear. The best energy you can have in any conversation is calm assurance, the kind that says, I'm available to connect, but I'm not desperate to. Let's be real. Others are attracted to confidence, not the boisterous, performative variety, but the understated self-confidence that doesn't need validation. When you communicate from self-respect, you establish emotional gravity. You don't pursue, you attract. You don't seek attention, you organically command it. Because others can sense when you understand your worth and they naturally move to meet it or they walk away. Either result is beneficial to you. It's simple to fall into over-explaining. When a person recedes or becomes ambiguous, you get in your head thinking, maybe if I clarify more, they will get it. But that isn't how respect is. It isn't from persuading. Respect comes from constancy. You don't have to battle for clarity. If you are somebody that another person genuinely cares about, they'll introduce it without you needing to request it. When you are holding your self-respect, you no longer respond emotionally to every change in someone else's energy. You no longer try to interpret silence or pursue validation. You get that silence is a form of communication. Lack of effort is a response. And rather than taking it personally, you take it as information and you adapt accordingly. Keep in mind that all interactions are an energetic exchange. If you continue to show up with full energy for someone who shows up with half, you're going to be left empty. Safeguard your peace by equating effort, not emotion. If they approach with inquiry, meet them with clarity. If they approach with confusion, answer with boundaries. That is not ego, that is emotional maturity. So when a guy calls you, bring self-respect to the game first before anything else. Speak from peace, not from terror. Reply with purpose, not impulse. Remember that your presence is a privilege, not something to be won. Because when you speak from a place of self-respect, you instantly weed out anyone who can't play at that level. The right one won't be threatened by your boundaries. They'll be impressed. They'll notice your strength, your calm, your confidence, and they'll want to meet you there. Because real connection doesn't ask you to shrink. It asks you to stand tall, to remain grounded, and to communicate from your truth. So never forget this. Self-respect isn't something you demand. It's something you demonstrate. And the moment you start living like you're enough, you'll stop entertaining conversations that make you forget it. Don't accept anything less than expansion. That's the last truth, the one that connects all the dots. Because when it comes down to it, love, attraction, connection, they're all supposed to make you grow, not constrict. The point of any real relationship is not comfort, it's evolution. The right connection doesn't restrain you, it stretches you, it asks you to become more, it reminds you to rise, it assists you in becoming more of who you already are. When a man contacts you, it's easy to get caught up in how it feels, the excitement, the attention, the chemistry. But ask yourself, does this connection make me grow? Does it add clarity to my life or confusion? Does it inspire me to show up better, or does it make me second guess my worth? Because here's the thing that too many people forget. If something costs you your peace, your energy, or your confidence, it's too costly. Love isn't meant to make you small. It's meant to remind you how big you are. Tony Robbins has this thing he always says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's not just in business or personal aspiration, it's in relationships as well. Stagnation feels comfortable to start with, but it's a slow leak. If the relationship isn't challenging you to communicate more fully, to love more deeply, to think at a higher level, then what's the use? Growth is the spark that ignites the flame of love. Without it, relationships become habits and habits turn into resentment. The reality is, growth isn't always comfortable. At times it involves setting boundaries, refusing things, or stepping away. At times it involves keeping yourself on a higher level, even when your heart desires to settle. But that's how you grow, not by pursuing comfort, but by selecting alignment. You'll never feel profound contentment by remaining in areas where you need to play small just to fit. Growth appears to be being truthful about what you desire. It's selecting folks who provoke your habits, not duplicate your hurts. It's not playing games with emotional immaturity because you don't want to be alone. It's understanding that being alone is not penalty. It's rehearsal. The time you invest in healing yourself is never wasted. It's laying the groundwork for something better. When you cease to settle, your vibration shifts. You no longer beg for love and begin to attract alignment. You no longer chase excitement and begin to appreciate peace. You no longer chase chemistry and begin to seek depth. And that transformation is what brings in the kind of love that endures because it's constructed on expansion, not need. But here's the thing, you have to feel that you deserve that level of love. You must feel that you are worthy of a relationship that nurtures your soul, not your insecurity. Far too many people settle because they don't feel like they can do better. They settle for mediocrity because it's comfortable, but familiar and fulfilling are not synonymous. Growth starts the moment you stop settling for comfort over courage. So when a man calls you, don't demand to know, does he like me? Ask instead, do I grow with him? Because if you're not growing, you're revolving, going around and around in the same emotional loops, learning the same hurts. Growth is the difference between repeating the past and rewriting it. Never forget, you are not supposed to be half loved, half seen, or half understood. You are supposed to be with someone who views your potential and meets your effort to rise together. Someone who honors your strength rather than competes with it. Someone who pushes you in the best ways to speak deeper, dream bigger, love bolder. So don't settle, don't shrink, don't stop growing just because someone else is comfortable standing still. The right person won't fear your growth. They'll grow with you. They'll see your fire and bring their own, and together you'll build something that doesn't just feel good, it becomes good, because true love, the kind worth waiting for, the kind worth cultivating, isn't perfection, it's development. It's two people saying, let's improve together, and that's the benchmark you should never compromise, not for attention, not for convenience, not for anybody. Growth isn't even a destination in love, building block. Everything else may erode, but growth sustains the bond alive, real, and remarkable.